So I have a challenge in pronouncing his name and Ayn Rand's name. Yaron Brook is Executive Director of the Ayn Rand Institute, a former finance professor. He speaks internationally on such topics as the causes of the financial crisis, the morality of capitalism, and ending the growth of government. Dr. Brook is a co-author of Neoconservatism on Obituary for an Idea. And no offense to any neoconservatives that might be in the audience. He's also a contributing author of Winning the Unwinnable War, America's Self-Crippled Response to Islamic Totalitarianism. He will be selling and autographing copies of his latest book entitled Free Market Revolution, immediately following tonight's program. His writings frequently appear in the national print media, and he often appears on national television. Just last month, he was a guest on the John Stossel's Fox News program. Born, raised, and educated in Israel, Yaron served in the Israeli military. Yaron was a self-identified socialist until he was 16 years old, at which time he read Atlas Shrugged. That'll do it. Despite his best efforts to poke holes in Ayn Rand's arguments, he couldn't, and went on to become a student of Rand's philosophy, Objectivism. In 1987, seeking a life in a place that offered the most personal and economic freedom and to raise a family, he and his wife immigrated to the United States. I wonder if he'd make the same decision today, I'm not sure. He has advanced degrees from the University of Texas and taught finance at Santa Clara University. He is also co-founder, managing director, and chairman of a financial advisory firm, BH Equity Research. In mid-1990, he decided to join the Ayn Rand Institute's new educational program, the Objectivist Graduate Center. In 2000, Yaron left teaching to become the executive director of the Ayn Rand Institute and the go-to source for laissez-faire policy. Yaron's fields of specialties include objectivism, capitalism, finance, business ethics, venture capital, economics, and foreign policy. Dr. Brook's topic tonight is Saving America, the free market revolution. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Yaron Brook.
Yeah, that works. Good. I didn't know there were conservatives in Silicon Valley, so this is pretty cool. So, you guys recovered from the elections yet?
No. 4 years.
4 more years? I think it's going to take longer than that. We lost.
Yes.
We lost. And we've been losing for a long time. We've been losing for a long time. At least we, in the sense that those of us who believe in free markets, those of us who believe in limited government, those of us who believe in individual rights, in the Constitution, in the vision of the Founding Fathers, have been losing for a long time. It's been 100 years. 100 years of non-stop government growth, government increased intervention in our lives, in our economic lives, in our social lives, in every aspect. For the last 100 years, government has only grown. I don't care if Republicans win, Democrats win, government has increased its control, its attempt to manipulate our lives. I mean, even Ronald Reagan, many conservatives' hero. During Ronald Reagan's era, government spending increased. Yes, taxes went down, and that's great. A lot of regulations went down, and that's great. But even Ronald Reagan's revolution lasted 6 years, 8 years. Not much of a revolution. We're losing, and we've been losing systematically. And it's time for those of us on the right to start asking the question, the fundamental question, if we want to win, is why are we losing? What's going on here? Now, it would be understandable for us to lose if we were wrong. Right? If what we advocated for didn't work, So you can make the argument, as some people do, I think they're delusional, but they do, that capitalism just doesn't work. That free markets don't work. That they cause all the ills of the world around us. That they don't produce wealth, that they don't create prosperity, that they don't allow the poor to rise up. But they are delusional. They really are delusional. History, fact, just opening your eyes and looking around the world suggests the opposite. Everywhere that free markets are tried, you get wealth creation. You get a rising standard of living. You get the poor benefiting more than anybody in terms of their rise. You get social mobility. Rich people becoming poor, poor people becoming rich, depending on how productive they are, how creative they are, how entrepreneurial they are. This is true historically. I like to think of it this way. For the last 200 plus years, we've been running an experiment in the world. An experiment in which social economic systems work and which social economic systems don't work. And work here, I'm just talking about well-being of people, standard of living, wealth creation. Right? We've tried a bunch of different systems over the last 200 years, right? We tried communism, we went all the way out here, we tried communism. And hundreds of millions, tens of millions of people died. Standard of living's dropped. People all common denominator was the lowest common denominator, right? That's what equality meant. We tried fascism, also out here on the left, right? My left. And it failed. And we've tried, I wouldn't say pure capitalism, but close to it. We tried free markets. During the early decades of this country, putting aside the issue of slavery, which you shouldn't put aside, it's a big issue. But this country, during that first 100 years, was the freest country in human history. And what happened? What happened in America when we had no regulation, no safety net, no government controls, no government intervention in our lives? Well, very little. There still was some, unfortunately. What happened? Well, we went from a second-rate colony. You know why we won the War of Independence, right? Because the British didn't really fight. Right? Because we were a second-rate colony. It wasn't worth it. They were busy with the French, and the real battles were with the French and the Spanish. But 140 years later, what are we? We're the strongest industrial military country in the world. Nobody comes close. By the break of World War I, we are it. What happened during that period? Called the 19th century. Capitalism is what happened. Freedom is what happened. And the consequence of that are the fastest economic growth in human history. We absorbed millions of immigrants, and they worked. And they created wealth, and they created prosperity, and they created industry, and they created the world that we today enjoy. Of course, we demonize them today in our history books and our econ books. But that's the reality. The reality is a reality of enormous success when you have freedom. So we tried, and then we tried all kinds of mixtures. We touched some, socialism and some freedom and all of these mixtures, and you can almost draw a graph. It's not 100% correlated, but there's a close correlation there between economic freedom and economic success. The more economic free you are, the more successful you are economically. It's just there. It's right in front of our eyes, staring at us. How many of you have been to Hong Kong? Have you been to Hong Kong? Before you die, you have to go to Hong Kong. You got to see this place. Here's a place that 70 years ago was a fishing village on a rock in the middle of nowhere. And today, it puts New York skyscrapers to shame. It is a magnificent city. And it's got 7.5 million people who live on this rock. And they have no natural resources. They have nothing there. Except what? What do they have? What have they had for 70 years? Freedom. At least economic freedom. They've had protection of property rights. Do they have Social Security? No. No Medicare. No safety net. And who came there? Did the rich from all over the world come to Hong Kong and establish this wonderful place? No, the same kind of people who came to America in the 19th century. Who are you, your ancestors who came to America? Were they the intelligentsia of Europe? I mean, I don't want to insult your ancestors, so I'll talk about mine. We didn't come to America, but pretend they did. They were, what does it say in the Statue of Liberty? Send us your poor, your meek, your hungry. That's who our ancestors were. They were the poor of Europe. They were the persecuted of Europe. They were the ignorant of Europe. These were farmers who didn't know anything. They knew they wanted a better life. That's what they knew. And they came here and they made a better life. That's the same thing in Hong Kong. People got on little boats and got there somehow. They risked their lives to get there. Not for a safety net, not for a handout, for freedom. And they've boomed. They've flourished. You know, GDP per capita in Hong Kong is equal to that of the United States. That's a measure of wealth. That's a measure of standard of living, if you will. And they're still freer than the US. You know, the Heritage Foundation and Fraser Foundation in Canada, they put out these economic freedom indexes. And the United States 12 years ago was number 3. And you know what it is today? 13, 18, and dropping fast. Hong Kong and Singapore are the top 2. And you can see correlations there. You can see the relationship between economic freedom and prosperity. So why is it that we reject that? That for 100 years we've been turning our backs on what leads to prosperity, what leads to success, what leads to a rising standard of living, what leads to the poor being better off. Again, not just the middle class, not just the rich, everybody's better off. So what is it? What is it that we resent about economic freedom? What is it that we resent about capitalism that causes us to vote against it? Because we don't vote. You know, people say you vote your pocketbook. People don't vote their pocketbook. If they voted their pocketbook, we'd be living in laissez-faire capitalist heaven. Because that produces a bigger pocketbook. People don't vote their pocketbook. What is it about capitalism that people don't like, that causes them to vote against it, that causes them to advocate against it, that causes them to tolerate the ever-increasing role of government in our lives? What is capitalism about? What are markets about?
Volatility.
Volatility. What's capitalism about? What is a marketplace about? Simplify capitalism is a big word. Markets. What are markets about? Risk. Why do we take risk? Who cares about risk? Profit. We take risk in order to make something, right? You wouldn't take risk if there wasn't a reward. Markets are about, on the one side, about profit, right? When Steve Jobs makes one of these, or made one of these, why did he do it? To make money. Profit margins on these were huge. I mean, Steve Jobs didn't say, what if you want? Because then he would have sold it for a lot less. Have more features, better ones I like. No, Steve Jobs made this because he was making money, but what else? It wasn't just the money. What else did Steve Jobs make these? What was the other reason he made these?
Intervention.
Yeah, but why did he care?
Power.
Because he loved it.
Passion.
He loved it. He had passion. He loved beautiful design. He loved to see the image of his product made out there. So Steve Jobs made the iPhone 4. Steve Jobs. And when I bought my first iPhone in 2008 because the economy was spiraling out of control. And I went to the mall to buy my first iPhone because I wanted to stimulate the economy. Right? Because that's why you guys go to the mall. Right? Because you care about your fellow man and you want to make sure that everybody has a job. And you know that those people need jobs. So you buy the nice clothes and the nice shoes you wear and everything to help your fellow man, right? No, so why did you go? Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with helping a Chinese fellow man. I mean, they're not human beings. They're human beings too. So why do you go to the mall? To make your lives better. So what is the marketplace about? It's about people pursuing their self-interest. It's about people trying to make their lives better. It's about people trying to make their lives better. On the one side, by making profit, by making money, but also by enjoying the productive process, which clearly in Steve Jobs' case you could see. And on the consumption side, by trying to make our lives better by buying stuff. But it's our lives that we're trying to make better. It's about us. It's about our self-interest. And yet, what are we taught from when we're this big about self-interest? I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in a nice Jewish, family. My mother was a good Jewish mother. And she taught me what? When it comes to goodness, when it comes to virtue, what should you do? What is good? What is virtuous? Thinking about other people first. Being selfless. What is the essence of virtue? What is the essence of goodness as taught to us by our religious leaders and by our secular leaders? What is the essence? One word. Altruism is to, what does that mean? Sacrifice. Selflessness. And what does sacrifice mean? Just so we're clear, because it's a word that we bandy around. Sacrifice means giving something up and getting what in return? Nothing. If you get something more in return, if you get immense satisfaction for what you're giving up, is that a sacrifice? No. It's not a sacrifice. Sacrifice is giving without the expectation of getting back. Because when I bought an iPhone, I gave up $300. Was that a sacrifice? No. Why? Because I got something worth how much to me? You guys need an economics lesson. How much was what I got worth to me if I gave up $300? No, more than $300 a place. Who would have bothered? More than $300. I get more than $300 of utility, at least I expected to out of this, then otherwise I wouldn't have paid for it. Who would have bothered to go to the mall and make the effort? More than that. A trade is what? It's a zero-sum game? I give up $300? No. How much did Apple make on this? 200 or whatever. 60%, right? 180. Right? How much did I make on this? A lot. Probably more than Apple. And when I bought this, so what do we call that? We both won. This is a win-win. We call this a, starts with a T, trade. Trades are win-wins. When you buy an automobile for $20,000, who lost? Who won? Both parties. I mean, unless you buy a lemon, but your expectation is that you're going to win. That's the goal. Trade is about win-win. Sacrifice, by definition, is about lose-win. So lose-win, noble, virtuous, good, win-win, we don't quite like it. We were taught from when we're this young that it's all about other. That virtue is about other people. That goodness is about how we treat other people. That everything is about other. That being self-interested is bad, wrong. But what's capitalism about? Self-interest. So how can we have an economic system that's about self-interest when we know self-interest is a bad thing? Self-interest is not fair. Self-interest is not just. Self-interest is not noble. So what's profit? Can profit be fair, just, noble? No, because it's self-interested. So we've given up. We've given up the moral high ground. The left has the moral high ground. We're playing on their field. They have home court advantage when it comes to morality. When it comes to fairness, and notice Obama uses fairness and justice and all these words, and nobody challenges him on it. Because we've all accepted it. It's not because we disagree with him. It's because we've all bought into it. We've all bought into the fact that morality, nobility, goodness are about selflessness. And, people talked about altruism. Most people think altruism is being nice to people, is being benevolent. But that's not where the word comes from. Altruism is a relatively modern word. It was a term invented by a philosopher in the 19th century, Auguste Comte, C-O-M-T-E. And what he means by altruism is that your life is not yours. You need to dedicate your life to the well-being of other people. And you will be measured, your goodness will be measured on what you do to others. And if you think about what's in it for me, right, I get pleasure from helping other people. That's not moral anymore, because you're getting pleasure out of it. It's about truly subservieting yourself, your own values, what's good for you to other people. That's what altruism means. And that is incompatible with freedom, and it's incompatible with capitalism. But that's the moral code we all believe in. So guess what we get? Statism and socialism and government. Because it's incompatible with freedom and capitalism and markets. So we don't get freedom, capitalism, and markets. I mean, think about somebody like Bill Gates, who I know is not that popular in Silicon Valley, but pretend for a minute. How did he make his money? How did he make his money? the T word, by trading, right? By trading. He sold us a product which we voluntarily bought. Did we get more out of it than we paid? Yes. Looking back, way more out of it than we paid. I mean, the fact that he standardized computing, that, you know, we got software that we could all use and we could all communicate. I mean, the value to us of Microsoft's existence is unbelievable. Each one of us is an individual, and not just us in this room. Every human being on this planet has been impacted by Microsoft. Now, Bill Gates made $50 billion doing that, or $100 billion, or however much you want. But how much did we make from those trades? Much more than $50 to $100 billion, much more. What do we think of Bill Gates when he's making the $50 billion? Morally, ethically, is he a hero?
Yes.
Oh, well, you guys. Other than the front row here, is he a hero? I mean, think of culture out there. If we were making a documentary or movie about him, he's not a hero. Yeah, he's a pirate. But no, I mean, he's not a good guy. Nobody viewed him as morally good. I mean, at best, we would say he's a great business leader. He's a great technologist, and even that, you know, right? A lot of people doubt. But nobody talks about him in terms of morality. When did he become a good guy? When he gave it all away. And he hasn't given it all away, right? He's giving it, and he still lives in the big house. So he's only a bit of a good guy. What would it take for Bill Gates to be a saint? Now, I haven't talked to the Pope, so I can't guarantee this. But what would he have to do to become a saint? He would have to give it all away. Move into a tent, and if he showed some blood in the process, some, you know, suffering, right? Because that's the standard, then he would be a saint. This is the morality. Making stuff, building stuff, creating stuff, and giving it away, all right. That's excellent. I was at an awards dinner for businessmen in South Carolina, so you can't accuse them of being leftists. Right? South Carolina, Charleston, and they had this Lifetime Achievement Awards. Right? And I was the speaker. Luckily, I spoke after this. So they're introducing all these business guys, right, and giving them the awards. And these are long introductions because they want to make a big deal out of it. So 10-minute introductions. 1 minute on their business success, 9 minutes on their community service and their volunteering and their charity work. Now, there's nothing wrong with community work and charity and all that stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But 9 minutes and 1 minute? Give me a break. Not only did they do more for their community through their business activity, just like Bill Gates will do much, much more for the world in Microsoft than he ever will through his charity, by many, many factors. These businessmen got almost no credit for what really made them special, being in business. What really made them unique, where they really contributed and made stuff and built stuff. We don't value that. Because it's what? What did Bill Gates do it? Why did they do it? Because it's self-interested. Because it's self-interested, and we view that with disdain. We view it with disdain. We want, you know, we talk about charity and giving back and philanthropy. These are the, up here, these are the noblest thing in the world. Well, why? Why? I mean, as compared to building something that never existed before, creating a new product, becoming a billionaire. What does it mean to become a billionaire? It means selling people a product that they really value and want. That's what it means in a free market. You're changing everybody's lives. Investing, and I'm not even talking about all the jobs that Bill Gates created, not just at Microsoft, but all the companies that service Microsoft, and all the companies that would have never existed if not for Microsoft. We're talking about millions and millions of, I mean, you can't add this up. You cannot add this up. It's such, you know, such an enormous number. But he gets no moral credit for that because at the same time, he was benefiting himself. Benefiting himself. We hold a moral code today that views self-interest with disdain from an ethical, moral perspective and views altruism, sacrifice, selflessness as the moral ideal. And we lose as long as that is the case. As long as that is the case. And so the revolution that we need, the change that we need in order to win, it's a cultural change. It's a philosophical philosophical change. It's a moral change. It's a moral revolution that I encourage you to join. It's a revolution that says, no, my life's purpose is not to serve others. My life's purpose is to live my life. Is to make the most of my life. Is to live the best life I can live. That involves helping people, involves being nice to people, it involves even charity and community service. But that's not the essential of my life. It's about taking care of myself. It's about building stuff and creating stuff. That's what it's about. It's about trading with people. Benefiting them and benefiting myself. But not being ashamed about benefiting myself. That's the purpose of life, is to benefit yourself, is to make your life better. It's to live a full, human, flourishing life. It's about a real self-interest, the self-interest of human flourishing. You know, going back to Aristotle, Aristotle talked about a morality of human flourishing. About pursuing those virtues that make us the best human beings we can be. And, you know, we got a glimpse of this in our founding document. Our founding documents have a glimpse of this. Because, you know, what was the American Revolution about? Was it about tea taxes? I mean, taxes on tea are higher today, I bet you. Right? It wasn't about a Stamp Act. It wasn't about taxes. What was the principle behind the American Revolution? Freedom. But freedom from what? Freedom's a nice word people toss about. But what is it freedom from? From tyranny. Right? But not just from tyranny. It's freedom from what? What is the thing? From government? What kind of government? From control. It's freedom from coercion. It's freedom from force. But the real revolution that is America, it's about freedom. Whose freedom?
My freedom, the individual.
The individual's freedom. So before the American Revolution, who did your life belong to? To somebody, right? And it depends where you lived, right? So if you were in English, but who did your life belong to? It belonged to the king, right? And if you lived somewhere else, it might have belonged to the tribe, or some collective, some group. Your life, or, you know, to the Pope, or to the community, or to the majority. Call that absolute democracy, right? Somebody owned you. Your life belonged to someone else, to some other group. It wasn't yours. The American Revolution rejects that. That's the real revolution. It says, no, my life is mine. I have a right to my life. Right? Right means what? Freedom. It means freedom of action. It means I can do what is necessary to support my life. And you can't tell me how to do that. You can't tell me how to live my life. It's none of your business. As long as I'm not hurting you, it's not, I'm not violating your rights, you have no say in my life. My life is mine. That's what a right to life means. The American Revolution is the first time that politically it was stated that our lives, each one of our lives, is ours, not the states, not the kings, not the peoples, not the tribes, not the witch doctor or Attilas. It's ours. This is a revolution about individualism. It's about the individual sovereignty over his own life. It's a rejection of all the collectivism of the past. So the founders had this sense of self-interest, right? And what does it say? You know, the most important political document in human history is the Declaration of Independence, right? And it says that you have a right to life, liberty, and what? Pursuit of happiness. Whose happiness? The communities? Why doesn't it say the public good? Right?
He wasn't concerned about the public.
Nobody's concerned about the public good. Concerned about your happiness. Each one of you is right to go out there and pursue happiness. Now, is that altruistic? No, that's the most self-interested political statement in human history. That's the foundation of this country, is built on a political system of self-interest, of people pursuing their own values, people pursuing their own interests. That's what we need to recapture. And reject this whole otherism. You know what altruism means? Altruism, I think in Latin, other. It's otherism, it's the making other people the center of all life. That needs to be rejected, and I know that's hard, because we're raised on it. It's everywhere. It's in our culture. But if we care about freedom for us, then we need to reject it, and we need to understand what self-interest means, right? Because there are two things that the altruists have taught us. One is, you gotta be selfless. But what do they tell us about being self-interested? What is self-interest? When I point in the schoolyard to the kid in the corner and say, you're being selfish, do I mean you're taking care of yourself? No, what do I mean?
Stepping on others.
What's he gonna mean?
You're a lying, cheating, stealing SOB.